I don't want to do repairs for a decade. So I'm going to put in like tenant-proof materials, laminate wood flooring throughout everything, like a higher quality one. I want to put tile where I can. I want to make it nice, and I want to make it safe, and I want to be in a decent area. And we'll talk about how to find properties, how to finance them, and all that in a little bit.
This is the Better Life Podcast, where we talk about real estate investing, building wealth, and all in all living a better life. My name is Brandon Turner, and I've spent my life investing in real estate to achieve financial freedom. And alongside my co-host, Mr. Cam Cathcart, we want to help you do the same. On the show, you're going to hear from world-class guests who have been handpicked to help you level up your investing, your leadership, your goals, your habits, and more to become the very best version of yourself. So join us as we explore the habits, the actions, the beliefs that it takes to build wealth through real estate investing without losing your soul. All right, so picture this. I just signed a lease with a tenant. They seemed great on paper. Then a few months in, everything kind of started going sideways. Suddenly, they're missing rent deadlines. There's a broken window. The neighbors are complaining about them. I realized I'd put someone in my rental property without properly screening them, and now I was living a landlord's nightmare. But lucky for you, you don't have to make the same mistakes as I made early on because you have the luxury of using TurboTenant. So if you're managing any rental properties right now, and you're still trying to vet tenants and collect rent and keep track of work orders and market all your vacancies, look, TurboTenant is going to be your best friend. It's an app that allows you to do all of that and so much more, all in the same platform. Plus, it's like stupid cheap, like seriously less than your Netflix subscription. I don't even know why it's so cheap. And if you want it even cheaper, I got a discount for you. Just go to turbotenant.com/betterlife and use code Brandon10 for 10% off. Or go to my Instagram and DM me the word toolbox, and I'll send you a link to a bunch of cool free tools that they have, like the rent estimator, financial freedom calculator, and more. Hey, so many of you have heard me tell that story about how I bought my daughter Rosie a fourplex, like a rental property, the week she was born, and how we put it on an 18-year, mortgage payoff plan so it'll be paid off when she graduates from high school. So essentially, my tenants are paying for Rosie's entire college. Now that's pretty awesome, right? Not to mention, it's also making almost like $1,000 a month in cash flow. That's double awesome. But I don't think I've ever shared really exactly how I found that deal. So here goes. I found it through direct mail marketing. And here's how. I simply built a high quality lead list of a lot of names and addresses of potential sellers, and I sent out a whole bunch of mail to every person on that list. And then I talked on the phone to a ton of people, and then I finally got one person that was interested enough to sell me the property, and I got a deal at a great price. So building that giant lead engine like that, it works, but it takes a ton of time, knowledge, and effort, which can really slow down an investor's growth, which is why I reached out to my friend Ryan with Ballpoint Marketing. I asked him to sponsor this show because they're the best at doing everything that I just talked about. Like, they're literally going to help you build your entire lead engine. You're going to get a one-on-one call where they're going to help you figure out what you want and then build your lead list for you. Their robots are going to handwrite the postcards with a real pen, which is super cool. They're going to send them out, and they'll even answer the phone calls for you. Plus, they'll help you track it all inside of a CRM that they create for you. I know, it's crazy awesome. And it's going to help you land way more deals consistently. And because you're awesome and because you listen to this show, you're going to get a discount when you tell them that I sent you, or just use code Brandon when checking out with them. I love Ballpoint Marketing and officially recommend them to all my friends and masterminds. So if you're ready to kick your deal flow up a notch, getting more quality leads without pulling your hair out, just go to ballpointmarketing.com/betterlife. Or just shoot me a DM on Instagram with the word ballpoint, like one word, ballpoint, and I'll hook you up with them directly. So I bought my daughter a real estate property the week she was born, and that property is going to pay for her entire college education and then some. And I'm going to explain exactly how I did it and how you can do the same thing no matter how much money you're starting with. My name is Brandon Turner. I'm a real estate investor. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. I absolutely love real estate and the power of real estate for getting both financial freedom and big wealth down the road. But one of the best strategies I've ever encountered, and I then did with my daughter Rosie, is to buy your kid a property. Now, when I posted about this over on like TikTok or Instagram, every time it goes really viral, and it goes viral because of all the haters. There's so many comments of people like, you can't do that, or must be good to be rich, or I want to explain the strategy here. And I want to show you that you do not have to be super rich, nor do you have to have a lot of experience, nor do you have to get lucky.
This is a very, very simple, straightforward strategy that I've done and many other people have done to help their kids get a college education. But let me tell you this before. This is usually I say at the end of the conversation, but I'm gonna say it now. The point is not to pay for my daughter's college education. Yeah, that's gonna be nice. Like, that's the easy part. But what I really want is to use the next 15 to 20 years to teach my kids, because I have a son now too I'm doing the same strategy for, to teach my kids the power of real estate. You see, in real estate investing, there's like 4 ways you make money. One is cash flow. Cash flow is like extra money coming in every month. One is appreciation. Property values tend to go up over time. Yes, they go down occasionally. We all lived through 2008. It was rough, but prices are way higher today than they were in 2008. Right? Prices go up and down, but they go up in an upward trajectory. So 20 years from now, I can pretty much guarantee prices will be significantly higher than they are today. Now, 2 years from now, I don't know, but 20 years, I think it's gonna be fine. We also make money from paying down the loan. If you get a mortgage on a property, your tenants are paying that mortgage down every single month. And so even if you didn't get cash flow, even if you didn't get appreciation, but if you took out a mortgage and you broke even every month, the tenants were paying your mortgage and you just broke even if that was the case, eventually that property value, you owe nothing on it. And so you build wealth that way. And the 4th way you make money is through the tax benefits. When you own real estate, like if you're making whatever, $10,000 a year in cash flow, that's not the same thing as making $10,000 a year from your job. You got to make like 13 or 14,000 at your job to be the same as making 10,000 from real estate. What I love about this college hacking strategy, I call it, is that it allows you to get all 4 benefits, but then also to illustrate all 4 benefits for your children. So grab a pen, take some notes. This is school, so I'm going to go deep on this. We're going to get into the weeds. It's going to get a little complex. Don't run away from that. Lean into that. Difficult is good. Hard is good. When you feel challenged, that's good because it's going to teach you something you don't already know and that most of the world are not willing to do. So shut off the part of your brain that's like, but I can't do it because of here, or yeah, but you don't know about my situation. Ignore all that for now. Walk through this and just know that if you want it bad, you'll find a way to do it. And if you don't, you'll find excuses. Let's begin with the story, like the strategy as a whole. I want to explain the strategy so you understand it. If you buy a property with a mortgage, normal mortgages are 30 years. You buy a $100,000 property, every month you're paying off the mortgage. So after 30 years, you owe nothing on it. That's the strategy in a nutshell. What we're trying to do is we're trying to buy a property, but instead of paying it off in 30 years, we're going to pay it off in more like 15 years. Why 15 years? Because that's about the time our kids are going to college. If you've got a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 15 years from now is when they're going to need that money. And so for my daughter, Rosie, for example, I put it on a 30-year mortgage because the rate was pretty cheap for a 30-year mortgage. But then I went online, I did a little calculation and said, hey, if I pay an extra like $87 a month, it'll pay it off in 18 years. Why 18 years? Because in 18 years, she was going off to college. So I put it on this 18-year mortgage, so to speak, with the hopes that even if I broke even, and even if it never went up in value, at least it would pay for her college at the end of those 18 years. But here's the cool thing. The property does cash flow. Cash flow is almost $1,000 every single month. Now it's my money. I get to keep that. The second thing is the property did appreciate. So here's the numbers. Let me explain the numbers of how I did this deal. I used a strategy called the BRRRR strategy. So if you haven't heard of BRRRR, it's a very popular strategy where you buy a property using a short-term loan. Now, what is a short-term or short-term financing? It means that this is not the 30-year mortgage. This is a short-term loan. It could be a hard money loan. There's hundreds of hard money lenders out there. In fact, I own a hard money company. It's called Better Life Ref, R-E-F. You can go to betterliferef.com if you want to know more about that. So you get a hard money loan or you get maybe a private money loan. Maybe you just have all the cash for it, but only use that short term. So you buy it with short-term money. You then rehab it. You fix it up. You make it really nice. Like I don't want to do repairs for a decade. So I'm going to put in like tenant-proof materials, laminate wood flooring throughout everything, like a higher quality one. I want to put tile where I can. I want to make it nice and I want to make it safe and I want to be in a decent area. And we'll talk about how to find properties, how to finance them and all that in a little bit. So I bought the property now I paid real cheap for it because it was a nasty little fourplex. I think I paid $45,000 for it. Now I ended up putting about $100,000 into the deal. Now I used a combination actually of hard money and I used some private money, meaning somebody I knew that had a bunch of money. I offered them like 12% to use their money so I could fix it up. So I used their money for the rehab and I actually used a hard money loan for the purchase. Kind of combined two strategies there. So the BRRRR strategy, I bought it for $45,000. I put $100,000 into it. So now I'm into the whole thing for $145,000. But I got to get rid of the short-term loan. So I bought it, rehabbed it, rented it. So I rented it out. Now it's four separate houses. It's really nice now once we got finished with it. Tenant proof, beautiful, nice landscaping, new roofs, fixed the foundation, paint, flooring, the whole thing. I rented it out to 4 different tenants. Now, I didn't rent it. I gave it to a property manager. They took care of all of that. I don't want to deal with it. Buy, rehab, rent. And now the property is not worth 145. Yes, I have 145 into it. The property appraised closer to 200,000, which means right when we got done with it, we had a bunch of equity. So then I went to a local bank and I said, hey, local bank, I got a property worth $200,000. Can I get a loan for 145? Now that would have given me all of my money back, which would have been awesome. In reality, the bank was like, we'll give you 125. And I'm like, why? It's worth 100. They're like, well, we just are weird. And this is like 2012. So the bank didn't want to give me the full amount. I'm like, all right, fine. So I ended up keeping like $20,000 into the deal. That's fine, whatever. Someday I'll take it back from that property. So buy, rehab, rent, refinance. They give me that new loan. And now I've got a 30-year fixed mortgage at like 4 or 5%. Of course, I put it on an 18-year payoff plan because I want to get it paid off by the time she goes to college. And I got my private money lender cashed out. I got my hard money lender cashed out, and I kept a little bit of money in the deal. All right, now here's the cool part. The last part of the BRRRR strategy is you can repeat that process. Now that money's freed up, I could use another hard money loan. I could borrow my private money friend. I could borrow his money again, and I could do this over and over and over. In fact, I have done this over and over and over. I've used the BRRRR strategy, along with other strategies, to buy over 13,000 rental units now over the past 20 years. So I've been doing this a lot. The strategy works, whether with single family houses, multifamily, commercial, apartment complexes. So that's the strategy. That's how I did it. And now every single month, our tenants have been paying off that mortgage. And we've been cash flowing, like I said, around $1,000 a month. Some months are more, some are less. And here's the cool thing. I expected that property to be worth in 18 years, somewhere maybe in the 250 range, maybe 300 someday. So Rosie would have $300,000 to use for college. In reality, over the past 8 years since owning that property, we've seen it worth now $450,000 to $500,000. I could probably get 500 today. That's insane, right? But that's the power of real estate. Sometimes you get that massive appreciation boost. Sometimes you don't, and it doesn't matter. I would have been fine with it worth 200 at the end. I would have been fine with over 18 years if it never went up in value at all. Now, I like the fact that it would have been value. That's great. So now we only owe we started at like 125. We're down to probably 100,000. So already 8.5 years in, it's already got enough to pay for my daughter's entire college education. And every time we go back to that town, I don't live there anymore. I live in Hawaii now. Every time we go back to that town, guess what? We drive Rosie by her property. We say, this is the property that you get to cover for your college someday. And here's the numbers. And now that she's getting to school, she's in 3rd grade now, she's starting to do math. And so we're going to sit down and we're doing her math homework now with her property financials. Now, of course, we got to simplify it, but it gets her trained up. And as she gets older, we'll give her more and more responsibility. Eventually, I hope she's managing the property manager. She's taking phone calls. She's doing the profit loss every month. That'll be eventually as she gets into high school. And at the end, here's a little secret to this whole thing. I hope that Rosie uses the knowledge she gained from having this property to take it and start her own real estate empire or other business entrepreneurship, whatever. Like I want this to be the biggest life lesson in terms of financial gain that she'll never get from school. And so that's the theory. That's what I'm doing. And it's not even theory anymore because now I have enough equity to cover her college. And if she wanted to go to medical school, she could cover like 8 years at this point. And you can do it as well. Now, one common question I get whenever I talk about this strategy is people ask and they say, are you legally putting it in Rosie's name? No, I'm not. It's in my name. Well, it's in an LLC. So when I bought it, I bought it in an LLC, which I own. And someday down the road, I'll just either sell it, take the money and then pay the taxes, which is what you'd have to do. And then I'd pay for her college. That's fine. I'm not getting the details of like putting in a trust that's wrapped in this where she's the whatever. Maybe there's smart people that can figure that out. I just put it in my name or in my LLC that I own and it's going to pay it off and someday I'll sell it. But here's another cool strategy. And this is actually probably what we'll do. Why sell it? Let's say it doesn't go up another dollar from here on out. Let's say 10 years from now, Rosie's going to college. It's worth $500,000. We owe nothing on it. I can simply go to the bank and refinance it. That means get a new loan. And now they're going to say, well, we'll give you 70%. Okay, what's 70% of $500,000? It's like 350,000. Am I doing that math right? They'll give me $350,000 tax free. And so now all of a sudden I could get a $350,000 loan, cover Rosie's entire college. And who's paying that loan? The tenants that are there. And so I don't even have to sell the property. I can still own it in my name or my LLC still. And then we can set it up for Rosie's kids, their college education, right? We can just repeat the whole strategy over and over and over. Or I could take that money and do something else, or she could take that money and go do something else. The sky's the limit with that strategy. All right, let me talk about the way you find deals like this. If you want to do it on your own, you want to do the same strategy, how do you find deals? I love this conversation. In fact, I have a small coaching program for new investors called first deal. The first thing I make people do, I want everyone to define their crystal clear criteria. Now, what the heck is crystal clear criteria? It's a series of 6 decisions you have to make before you're shopping for a property. And that is, what strategy are you gonna use? Is this like a traditional like buy and hold like I did with Rosie, or the BRRRR strategy? Is this like a house hack? Or are you trying to do like a flip? Or are you trying to do a rent by the room or assisted living or whatever? There's a ton of strategies out there. So for me, I said I want to do a traditional rental, and maybe I'll do the BRRRR strategy to finance it. Next, property type. What am I trying to buy? Is it a single family house, a multifamily, commercial property? What? Next, location. Where am I buying this at? And those 3, location, strategy, and property type, they're kind of a chicken and the egg problem, right? Because different areas are good for different things. So you might say, I'm gonna invest locally. Okay, great. Where do you live? I live in Beverly Hills, California. Okay, well, you're probably not buying a traditional rental because it's $2 million and it's never going to cash flow. But flipping, could you flip in Beverly Hills? Oh, I bet you could. You could probably make $100,000 on one flip in Beverly Hills. So sometimes the location determines the strategy, or sometimes the strategy determines the location. And then obviously the property type is going to play in there as well. So we got strategy, location, property type, condition. Like, how nice is the property that you want to buy? Do you want a fixer-upper? You want a project, a rehab? You can get better deals on rehabs. Or do you want something that's already fixed up? You're going to pay more for that. We got price range, which is like, what's the lowest amount you'd want to go for a property, and what's the highest amount? Like, oh, I'm not going to buy anything over $500,000, nothing below $100,000. Okay, great. Now you got price range. And last, it's what I call profitability. It means what would make you say yes to an investment? How much? Is it a certain dollar amount? Is it you want to break even on a 15-year mortgage? Is it you want to make 10% on your money? What makes it a good deal? Personally, I like to make at least 8% cash on cash return, which gets a little complex to explain, but basically I want my money to earn 8% the first year. But if I'm paying for my college hacking thing, I just want it to break even on a 15-year loan. That's what I'm looking for. So now that we've got our crystal clear criteria established, now we want to go out and find those properties. And finding deals, there's 2 really avenues to go. There's on market and off market. An on market deal is a property that's listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service, by a real estate agent. So when you drive around your town, you see a sign in the front yard, that's a MLS deal. It's listed by an agent. Totally fine to buy an on-market deal. They're usually more expensive and more competitive, but totally fine. Find a good real estate agent and then start looking for properties. You have your criteria, get that criteria to your agent and let them go to town looking for properties for you. The other way to do deals is to find off-market. There's a lot of strategies for off-market. We don't have time to get into all of them today. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want more on like both on-market and off-market. Some of my favorite strategies, one that doesn't cost any money, really hardly at all, is called driving for dollars. So where you get in your car and just drive around, you look for properties that need work. Like, oh, the grass is really long and they got, obviously it's an empty house, or wow, look at that roof, it's got a big tarp on it, or hey, look at the mail is piling up in their mailbox. They clearly don't live there right now. You're looking for signs of distress. You research who owns the property, you contact them, and you try to buy their property. Now, you might have to talk to 100 people before one agrees to sell you their house, but you can get a really good deal that way. Now, a faster way to do it is to put a little bit of money behind it, and that's called direct mail marketing. It's where you get a list. For example, let's say you built a list of every house in your area that was at least 2,000 square feet, and the owner didn't live in the state or didn't live at the property, let's say. That means it's probably a rental or maybe it's vacant, and they've owned it for at least 10 years. So now you get that list. And then you go and mail every single person who meets that criteria. There's data companies that can help you get a list like this. And then there's mail companies that will help you mail the letters. There's even services that will answer the phone. So you don't even have to answer the phone. They'll do all the screening for you for those phone calls. And then there's one company that I'm a big fan of. They're actually a sponsor of the Better Life podcast, and that's called Ballpoint Marketing. They do all of that. They can help you with the data, they can help you with the mailing, and they can help you with the phone calls. They're awesome. Ballpointmarketing.com. Check them out. They're amazing. So you send out these direct mail, you get a bunch of phone calls, you analyze the deals, you make a bunch of offers, and eventually you get a deal accepted. You can get some really solid deals that way. The third way to find deals off market is just networking. Go to local real estate events, meet wholesalers. Wholesalers are people who are out there like hustling for deals, and they can't buy the deal, so they just sell it to you. Like, you just buy the deal from them, basically. So they can find good deals for you. You can also network with existing landlords. Here's the cool thing about the college hacking strategy. You have an emotional one-up on every other investor out there because you're buying a property for your kid. Like, if you're an owner of a property and you're getting hit up by investors all the time, hey, I want to buy your property. Hey, I want to buy your property. And then they get a letter that says, hi, I'm a new real estate investor, but I'm not looking to flip your house or wholesale your house. I'm just looking to buy a property to fund my kid's college someday. Here's a picture of my little boy. Here's a picture of my little girl. Here's our family. We want to buy a property We want to put it on a 15-year mortgage and pay it off so that they can have their college covered in 15 years. And most importantly, they can learn the power of real estate. Would you be willing to sell your house? I can pay a reasonable price. I'm not trying to steal your property. I can pay a good amount for it. I'm just looking for a leg up. They're going to answer that letter. Like, you're going to get such a tremendous good response rate because you've got a heart behind it. You got that one up on everyone else. So that's some of the strategies around finding deals. Now, what about financing? Well, first, let me cover the traditional route. If you've got 20% down, you can get a regular mortgage. So you buy the property for, let's say, $200,000. You put down $40,000 as a down payment and you get the loan. Any bank in the world can do that. But let's talk about some more creative ways. There's a strategy called seller financing. And this could actually work with the college hacking plan really well because of the emotional one-up that you have. So you get a seller to actually carry the contract. Imagine you sold your car to your brother, but your brother didn't have the whole $5,000 you wanted for the car. So you're like, hey buddy, I know you don't have the $5,000. Why don't you take the car? It's your car now, but you gotta pay me $500 a month for the next year. And your brother's like, okay, I'll do that. That's seller financing. Same thing happens with houses all the time. Landlords who own property, they like to get regular income. So if they own the property and they've paid off their loan and then maybe they're older, they don't want to just sell the property and then get no money. I mean, yes, they get a big chunk of money they got to pay taxes on. Instead, you do seller financing with them. They get a monthly check for the next 18 years. They're helping you with your kids' college education and you get a property for potentially no money down or whatever they require, but you get to negotiate that. Maybe it's 5% or 10%. Another avenue is called house hacking. Now, this is combining a couple strategies, but house hacking is the idea where you live in a property and you use that property as an investment as well. The most common type of house hacking is to like buy a duplex and then rent out the other unit. I've done that many, many times. That's how I got started in real estate. But imagine this. Imagine you just find the perfect house for your college hacking future, but you use what's called an FHA loan. An FHA loan is 3.5% down payment. So that $200,000 house is $7,000 down. You buy it and you have to live in the property. That's the downside, but only for 1 year. You live in the property for the year. And then now you're college hacking, you're paying the mortgage off over the next 18 years, 17 years, 15 years, whatever it is. So that can be a good strategy as well. It could be a single family, multifamily, or whatever. Another more creative strategy, what I call an equity partnership. Now, earlier I said I have 13,000 rental units. How did I do that? Equity partnerships. I have over 2,500 partners who have invested with me because I have deals and they have money. I have time because I've got a team that can go out and find deals, so we work together. Same thing can be true for you. You can find somebody who can come up with the down payment. You find the property, and then you split future profits 50-50. Now, you might be saying, well, what about college hacking? Well, find a big enough deal where the profit's enough to cover your kids' college and their kids' college, right? Like, you do all the work, you find the deal, they fund the down payment. So let's go back to that $200,000 property. $200,000 property that they put down, let's call it 20%. They put down $40,000. You found the deal, you manage the deal or manage the property manager, you make sure it all works, you manage the rehab if there is one. They put the down payment and then you split all cash flow, or maybe you use the cash flow to pay the loan off. And then in 18 years from now, 15 years from now, whatever, the property's worth, let's call it $400,000 and you owe nothing on it. So you have $400,000 in equity. You sell it or you refi it, you split it, and each of you get $200,000 for your kid. Is that enough to cover 4 years of college? I sure hope so, unless your kid's going to a crazy big school. This works. Now, there's a whole lot that goes into raising money and finding partners that I'm not going to get in today, but I promise you, I will put videos on this YouTube channel on how to raise money. So follow me here on YouTube if you want more information on that. College hacking is incredible. It works if you work it. So don't knock it till you try it. Try it. Let me know what do you think about it. And subscribe, like, comment below what you think. Tell me I'm an idiot and that this doesn't work and it must be nice to be rich. Or tell me that you're going to try this. I'd love to talk with you in the comments. For Better Life, the Better Life podcast, and all the other random things I do. My name is Brandon Turner, signing off.
And that, my friends, is the show. Thank you for tuning in. And hey, before you go, if you enjoyed this episode or if you just enjoy the show in general, please consider leaving us a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. We really do value your feedback and we read the comments. We make future decisions about topics and guests and everything else. Plus, it helps us reach more people, and the more reviews we get, the more people hear it and watch the show and share it, and it's awesome. Last but not least, please head over to social media. Consider befriending me, following me, subscribing to all that stuff at Better Life and my personal page at BRRRR Brandon, especially over on Instagram, YouTube, and really everywhere else. So thank you again for listening. I'm honored that you would bring me along on your journey toward building wealth through real estate investing without losing your soul. Now, this show is about living a better life, but if you want my opinion on what it takes to live the best life ever, just go to abetterlife.com/best life to hear some of my views on life and spirituality. I think you'll like it. abetterlife.com/best life. With that said, thanks for listening to the show. We'll see you next week.